I'm Andrea Timmerman from Assembly, and I'm here with Lisa Pillette. Lisa, thank you for joining us here at Sport Beach. I'm excited that you're here and we can spend some quality time together.
I'm excited to be here.
So
Thank you.
First off, really I'd love to hear, if you could just introduce yourself. You've had such an incredible career as a CMO of many fashion luxury brands. You've been on lots of boards. You've been helping women in leadership. Just tell us a little bit about yourself and your experience.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm thrilled to be here. This has been my first can, and I have to say it's been one of the most incredible experiences. But I think it's a testament, and I feel the love from the community. I feel like I've been involved with this community for a long time. As you mentioned, I've been a global CMO, most recently of the Fossil Group. But prior to that, I spent a long time at Levi's, at Ralph Lauren, at Lacoste, and was also the CMO of Casper Sleep. So have kind of run the gamut of either legacy brands or DTC darlings. And as you also mentioned, I do advisory work, brand advisory and strategic work, and I love and still from day one working with a lot of women in the industry, and this environment has been amazing for that.
Yeah, and we talked a lot about just your overall expertise, especially in iconic lifestyle brands. So could you start sharing about what drew you to brand marketing in the first place?
Sure, because the irony is that I wasn't necessarily planful about staying in marketing as long as I have. I was working at Levi's, but then I had left to pursue a clinical psychology doctorate and started working in that field with clients and patients, and everyone was really kind of dumbfounded by that decision, but there's so much overlap. And if you think about the human motivation, it's really similar between both fields. One's a lot more based on a one-to-one, but one's at scale. But the research methodologies were similar. Diagnosing behavior patterns was similar. Trying to create meaning for people, whether it's one-on-one or at a mass scale, was similar. And then the most important thing is that they're both really rooted in narratives. And then when I started actually working as a practitioner in psychology, it was a lot lonelier than I had anticipated. And so what I realized I love doing is doing all the things we just talked about, but rather in a room with one, on a mass with many, and then with teams. And so I just kind of brought all of that training and all of that skills, all those skills over, and I think it made me, a more effective and a more empathetic CMO.
I also think that, and this isn't a question, so
Yeah.
I'm just going to...
No, great.
I also think, though, that with that type of background, you understand the consumer's mindset, and what that journey would look like.
Yes.
From the first touch to the last touch with the brand.
Yes.
And I think you were able to really craft new experiences,
Yes.
new storytelling, new creatives.
Yes.
For a lot of the brands that you've had experience with. So I think that is actually, a fruitful background for what we do today. So
I think so too, because you're right. It goes. You're really we're on the experience, the human experience path.
exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so you have often led marketing for brands with, again, emotion, storytelling, and really aspiration to drive, really consumer connection. It's all about that connectivity.
Yes.
In a media environment that's become so performance-driven, why is it crucial for brands to maintain not only the upper funnel, but lower funnel? And I'm going to add a little bit on that.
Okay.
So Assembly, we always say we ought to consider the messy middle as well.
Okay.
So how do you like, sometimes it becomes a versus
Yes.
an and or. We look at it as one. It should be
Okay.
brand performance.
Yes.
So how do you approach that through your experience?
Well, first I look at it the same way, and I think it does come from seeing and being a part of brands when we've got it wrong, right? You can certainly measure, and it's a lot easier to see what's going on directly in lower funnel. But it is a relationship, and I know there's probably a lot of people saying that, but it's true. And I actually think it's a three-part relationship: upper funnel in media, but also in experiential, right? Doing both to create the human experience, to create the narrative, the emotional connection. People still make decisions emotionally first, and then they rationalize them. And so even though if you're talking to them on a lower level of features and benefits, they still need to have that belief, that understanding of who you are, what you stand for, to make sure that it's a values alignment, and that still happens at a subconscious level. And then the decision is to convert. So, that's kind of the psychology of it in the way that I see it. But then from a media standpoint, it's really about creating the emotional connection, creating the demand at a higher level, and then harvesting that at a lower level. And that is really important holistically from a spend standpoint, from a team structure standpoint. And when I was leading this, I did not want to separate these teams. I didn't want to have a performance media team sitting in one department and a brand media team sitting in another, because as you mentioned, it's the integration, it's the connection that converts. It's not one or the other. And when you're closest to the consumer holistically, that's when you win.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times, kind of going off that, when there are cutbacks in budget, typically brand dollars are their first to go. And then brand somehow becomes like a dirty word in an organization when they're revenue or ROAS driven.
Yes.
So in your experience, what have you seen as a long-term impact, and how have you successfully made the case internally to protect really those brand or those mid-funnel dollars?
I think that's a really important question, because as a CMO, everyone always asks about your most important relationship, and I really think it's with your CFO, right? It's understanding, or having them understand that you're building infrastructure that pays off dividends. But you also have to look at, being a corporate officer and being in the C-suite, the metrics that we need to look at holistically, you need to align that with your executive team. And it's not the vanity metrics. It's not just the ROAS numbers. It's the CLTV. It's, building your brand affects your pricing power. It's your contribution margin. It's other things that show and reflect how that integrated strategy pays off in the business long term. You'll also see, these are data facts. This is not opinion. But if you pull out of brand and then you try and go back in, the cost of reentry is much higher. The time to reconnect with the consumer is much longer. And brands that have consistently maintained investment in brand over even times of recession have higher long-term ROAS, have higher brand value, have higher brand loyalty and love. And this is just the data. It's not, my opinion. So I think it's really making sure that you have that shared understanding with your executive team, and that you focus the metrics and you focus the KPIs on what matters, and then you build your plan around that.
Perfect, yeah. So you are an award-winning CMO. Congrats.
Thank you.
So you've been recognized by Time's Most Valuable Watch Brands.
Yes, we have last year.
Your CMO Storytelling Awards,
yes,
which has been terrific. And these all prove that creativity really drives overarching business results. So how do you ensure that brand content remains authentic, but also commercially effective? Really in what I always like to say, our culture of short term.
Yeah.
How do you just ensure that we're being authentic across all the different types of touch points with the consumers?
I mean, it's funny, a lot of what we're talking about is talking about the duality, right?
Yeah.
Brand, performance, authenticity, efficiency. They're not, as you said, they're not either or. And I think, this has been a really important theme that I've even observed here, that, the brands that I've worked at, they've all shown through their ascension and their longevity that authenticity is a strategic asset. It's not just a buzzword, right? You can't be around for 150 plus years because you're not doing something that's core to who you are and that matters to somebody else. So I guess, first of all, I've never looked at it as an either or, but I also think you have to be strategic around your content strategy so it connects. And that, I think P&G does this the best. They do representation, resonance, relevance, and reach. And when you look at those 4 tent poles and you start to actually adopt that, you'll develop a content strategy. And it's not just, I saw something from Candace Parker on stage yesterday. When we say representation, it's not like a face in the campaign. It's the whole ecosystem of, and this is what I, would strive to do better in the future for myself and my teams, but be able to represent the whomever we're speaking to or about holistically throughout the production chain,
Yep.
as well as within the entire process. And I think that is, an amazing goal. She gave a challenge that 50% of budgets should be in women's sports, 50% of budgets should be in men's sports, and then the value chain throughout. And I was just like, I'm on. I think that's the next great challenge for all of us.
Perfect. So this week has been a lot about AI.
Just a little bit.
And you've been a bit of a first mover when it comes to AI. So from Gen AI, 3D assets, the virtual models.
Yes.
So how do you see AI enhancing really brand storytelling? And really, how is AI changing our media investment strategies?
I mean, obviously, it's been a huge topic here. It's been a huge topic for the last couple of years. And I know I'm probably not the only person who's saying this, but it's not like it's new. Yes, the Gen AI is the next iteration that will, I think, fundamentally change everything in so many ways, whether it's replacing more and more actual creators with digital ones. There's so many things that are going to happen that I feel like I'm not even, I don't have a window into that. It's going to be very, very disruptive. That said, I think what it can do for us now is it can, enhance targeting. It can make creative variations more efficient and fast. It can, bring you closer to what like contextual targeting. It can bring you closer to what a consumer's doing in real time, so you can be more culturally relevant in the moment. And I think it's that excitement that it's creating a better experience. And that's what it always comes down to. The virtual models that you mentioned, that was all about trying to create a better experience digitally that we were replicating in the stores. It wasn't because we wanted the tech, it's because we wanted the relationship. And I think AI will, it can never replace the human soul. It can never replace true emotional connection, but it could amplify it, and it will probably, completely change how we distribute and connect, but it won't replace the core, in my opinion.
Great. I'm going to round us out
Okay.
with one last question.
Okay.
So since we're here at Cannes and Sport Beach, it's really a festival about creating, that power of creativity, moving brands and culture forward. What is inspiring you this week? We can't say AI because we just talked about that.
Okay.
And are there
Well.
any other emerging trends or anything that you're seeing out there that really excites you, especially based on where you've been as a CMO?
I mean, I saw Ryan Reynolds speak yesterday on Sport Beach on the stage, and it wasn't about his status as a actor. It was about his understanding of storytelling and human connection. And in this age of automation, the craft is still critical. And then I think that really was important, an important message. And I think also just the voices of all of the athletes. I think I really underestimated in some weird way how to partner and work in a way that was more meaningful, more fruitful. And I think I learned something, just hearing, Candace Parker was amazing. All of the woman who's the CMO, I'm forgetting her name, of the NHL, just the way that she was leveraging community. And I think these are still the fundamentals of great marketing, of its relationships. And you still see all of these leaders still creating that and creating those experiences. And that is not going to go away. And that we're sitting in one, right? And so I think that will stay with me after I leave.
And also what they're doing for their communities too, which is amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So,
Well, thank you again.
Thank
it's a
you.
pleasure to have you here with us.
thanks for having me.
Yes, thanks.